Oh, hey ProMark, what's up? Let's go check out my studio. Most mornings I'll start off in the kitchen. I always leave a pad and a pair of sticks in here just to work on stuff, or if I get an idea and I can work it out, it's always in here. Usually make a cup of espresso, go back and forth between that, maybe go in and listen to some music, and then go down to the studio and work on other stuff. And that's usually the morning rotation between walking my dog. So this is where I do all my recording, any online teaching I'm doing. I usually have multiple kits set up in here. Right now we've got this beautiful Heritage Green Ludwig kit. This is where I do all my mixing and getting sounds together. Got my monitors, got my Universal Audio Luna program. Heritage Audio stuff those are all the preamps that I use. These are incredible. That all goes into the Apollo X8P, which I bypass the preamps in here and use these. Today we were using just two Earthworks SR25s for the bulk of the sound. Then we had an Earthworks kick drum mic on here. We had a Coles microphone just to get kind of a room sound of the kit. This is like a supernatural sounding mic for drums. It's an amazing drum microphone. Everything that's on the walls and ceiling is from Audimute. I work with those guys and they did an incredible job when we came in here. This is a different material than that's like a diffusion wall. So it just kind of creates a really natural sounding space in here. So you can really hear what an instrument sounds like. So there isn't a lot of stuff bouncing around. That's kind of the goal for this room. And this is where I do all my recording for artists or videos for YouTube or Instagram, stuff like that. If I'm doing a demo of something, I'll do it all in here. I was a big fan of music as a kid. I think everybody is. And I remember I wanted to play guitar because Van Halen was a huge band at that time. And I was like, that seems like a cool thing. And then the guitar teacher was not great. So that turned me completely off from guitar. I remember hearing a Bruce Springsteen, Born in the USA. That was like the huge song that summer. And I remember for whatever reason hearing the hi-hat and snare and kick drum part very clearly. And it kind of just clicked in my head. And I started bothering my mom to get a drum kit at that point. When I got my first like real drum set, I remember it was a kick, snare, hi-hat, rack tom. That was it, which was kind of funny, but it was cool because it makes you focus on just playing beats, which is all you need to do in the beginning. I just listened to records. First record I ever learned was Guns N' Roses' Appetite for Destruction. Played that cover to cover, the whole thing, learned that. And once you kind of learn that rock beat, you can play to a lot of stuff. I just wanted to figure out what John Bonham was doing on whatever, Kashmir or something. And then kind of went from Zeppelin to Rush to heavy jazz, like fusion, got into R&B stuff, and then got into singer-songwriter stuff. And then, I mean, I really do listen to kind of every style. If it's done really well, I'll listen to it. My brother, I asked basically, because I wanted somebody to play with, to play guitar or sing or something. So he goes, okay, I'll play guitar. And then he got really good at guitar. He was in the Dirty Dozen brass band. He's played with, Aaron Neville. I mean, he's a really great guitar player and singer. So we started playing, so there'd be a guitar laying around. So I started playing his guitar. And then anytime I was near a piano, I would gravitate towards that. All of this stuff is by ear, but I'm not a great reader on any of those instruments, so it's all ear. Let me show you probably one of the coolest things in the studio as far as an instrument goes. This was my grandfather's 1941, as you can tell from the case, Martin tenor guitar, which I found at my mom's house under the staircase, literally in this case. And I had it was in actually really great shape. The bridge needed a little bit of work. This was my grandfather's guitar that he played all the time. And then I found this photo of him playing this exact guitar at a party in 1942. I actually recorded with this on my last record, and then having this photo. So that's a pretty special piece to have. I did the sports thing for a second and like just wasn't into it. The drumming thing just kept kind of bringing me back to it. And it came kind of naturally, the technique thing. It was more, what music do I want to kind of dig into more? I mean, I have videos of me in my basement when I'm probably 12 playing to Rush tunes. I think I committed to playing when I was probably in 8th or 9th grade. The crazy story is, when I was in 8th grade, my school basically said, you have to write yourself a letter in the future when you're a senior graduating. And when I graduated high school, this letter came to me in the mail. And it was a letter from myself to me as a senior. And it was literally like, you're gonna go to school in Colorado and ski, and then you're gonna move to New York and become a professional musician. And it's like literally what I did. I grew up on the East Coast, so I wanted to get out and live somewhere else for a while. And I was a big rock climber. I was skiing like 100 days a year. I was like very outdoors kind of person. So I wanted to live out there for a while and kind of get that out of my system. And I figured any music school program would be great. I started reaching out to people like Peter Erskine or Paul Wertico, people that I was like really listening to and saying, can I take a lesson with you? And then I would just study with those people, just like one or two lessons. I mean, Colorado and Denver, the music scene is not what it's gonna be in LA or Nashville or New York. And Peter Erskine said, he goes, I think you should move to New York, man. And if he told me that, I was like, all right, I'm gonna do that. "48th Street was like a famous music row, like a staple of New York City. Like Jimi Hendrix, Led Zeppelin, everybody would shop at Manny's. I figured if I work there, I'm gonna make connections, meeting people. And that's actually what happened. I was tuning. I was basically practicing at work, tuning a drum set up. And this guy walked up, his name was Dennis Davis. He passed away a few years ago. Played on Fame, Bowie's tune, played with Stevie Wonder. And I'm playing, and he's like, do you work here? And I'm like, yeah. He goes, man, you shouldn't be working here. You should be gigging. I was like, okay, cool. I was like, who are you? He's like, my name's Dennis Davis. He's like, I'm playing with Roy Ayers in Harlem tonight. You should come up and sit in. Okay, that's cool. And I'm like, maybe this guy's crazy. This is not maybe a real drummer. And then he goes, the gig's in Harlem. It starts at 2 a.m. And I had just moved to the city, and I literally look at him, I go, is it cool for me to go to that gig? And he's just like, yeah. He's like, just come on in and come back to the drums when you get there. And I'm like, okay. So I take the subway up, walk in, Roy Ayers is playing, and this dude's playing drums. Dennis saw me and was like, come up to the stage. So I walked around back. They're in the middle of a tune. Roy Ayers is playing a mallet cat. So like a MIDI triggered, vibraphone. And he goes, come up here. They're mid-tune and he's soloing. And I'm like, what? He's like, get up here. So we do the hand the sticks off and trade mid-tune. Roy Ayers doesn't even know we switched. And we play, and then he turns around and looks at me and goes, who the f are you? And I was like, I'm Dennis's buddy. He's like, whatever. And then I realized who he was, and if you look up Dennis Davis, he's on a crazy amount of cool shit. And Roy Ayers let me play 3 tunes. And then I got a recommendation from Charlie Hunter to play with this guy Melvin Sparks, who's a soul jazz guitar player. And we did tours with Bernie Worrell from Parliament Funkadelic and Talking Heads. And then we did a tour with Fred Wesley, who was a trombone player with James Brown and JB Horns forever. So I was playing soul jazz, groove music. And then I got asked to sub on Lion King and went in, and I had never seen a Broadway show in my life. And all of a sudden was learning this book, and I was like, oh, this is cool. I remember watching the show going yeah, I can technically play all this, but I have to piece all of that production kind of together to really memorize it. And so, yeah, I've been there for 23 years. Any Broadway show is a totally different world than just doing a regular, even just if it's a big gig, a big pop gig in a stadium or something. It's exactly the same every night. You have to play crazy accurate. Every dynamic marking has to be perfect. They're super super microscopic on all that stuff. So it's not like, oh, I'm counting the tunes off and we're just gonna play these songs. It's very rigid. It's minute by minute every night. So you have to have a lot of stuff. You have to be able to play with a click. You have to be able to follow a conductor. You have to be able to adjust tempos in real time. You know, if they count off a tune and it's 1, 2, 3, 4, after 6 bars, it might be up like 4 or 5 BPM because a dancer's doing something or so. So you have to be kind of liquid, but also kind of a brick at the same time. So it's tricky. A lot of people have trouble doing both of those. The orchestra at Lion King is 28 people, I think. I play drum set, then there's 4 other percussionists. There's 8 shows every week, basically rain or shine, snowstorm. I mean, it's like something major has to happen for a show to get canceled because people are flying in from all over the world to see this show. I'll do 6 out of the 8 and sub out 2, that's kind of my schedule. The show start to finish is 2.5 hours. That's a 15-minute intermission break. There's 28 charts in the show, but I haven't looked at the music in 15 years, probably, maybe more, because you just have to have it memorized. It's intense. I mean, I've done it so many times though. I think I've done it probably over 4,000 times easily. It's probably closer to 5, but I haven't kept count. If there's a sub in on any instrument, I know. And I also have my own Avion mixer. My mix is almost like a rhythm section. I have bass, guitar, keyboards, a few of the singers, all the percussionists, and then like a tiny bit of the string section, a tiny bit of the brass section. And that way it's like more digestible. The setup at Lion King is pretty basic kind of pop rock setup. It's 10, 12, 14, 16, 22. I have a black Ludwig classic maple kit there, just like a standard wood snare drum. And then, you know, ride, crash, splash, China, set of hats. A Roland Octopad off to the left that I have to play some stuff. I've got a trigger pad here for some tambourine stuff. Granite blocks that I play. I've got a huge 28-inch orchestral bass drum I have to do bass drum rolls on. And then I have a Pan Logo hand drum next to the hi-hat. And then it's like shakers, triangle, kashishi. And then I use my drumsticks, I use ProMark bass drum mallets, I use lightning rods. I normally play this kind of setup, like a very simple 3-piece kit or whatever, you know, rack, floor, kick. People come and see me play at Lion King and they get to see the kit. They're like, wow, this is like twice the size of your normal setup. But every Broadway show has very specific setups. Playing with Charlie Hunter could not be more opposite than playing on Lion King. Just me and one other guy named Charlie Hunter who's playing bass and guitar at the same time. And Charlie's also a great drummer, so it's intimidating. I've never rehearsed with him. He just sits down and goes, here we go. And he'll just start playing. I'm like, I don't know what we're doing. It could be an improv. It could be a Ray Charles tune from like the early 60s that I've never heard, but we don't talk about it. He trusts you enough that your ears will follow that kind of a gig. So it's a trust thing. The first out gig we ever did was New Year's Eve opening for Snarky Puppy. He called me like 4 days before the gig. He goes, hey man, do you want to play? And I said, yeah, what are we doing? He's like, Curtis Fox is gonna sit in on trombone and some of the guys from Snarky are gonna sit in on horns. I was like, great, well, let's do it. And he goes, you can just use the other guy's kit, just use kick snare, bring a ride and a set of hi-hats and that's your setup, no toms. It's like, okay. I go, just send me the charts and what tracks you want me to play. He goes, that's boring. He goes, we won't do. He goes, just show up and we'll play. So I literally showed up at the gig. He just looks at me, he goes, you'll hear it. And he just starts playing. I'm just staring at him the entire time because he's set up facing me. So we're facing each other like this and then the audience is out there. And it was so fun because I realized I was freaking out up until we started. Then I go, he can't get mad if I mess something up because there's nothing to mess up. There's no book. It's just, let's play. All my Instagram account was landscape photography and like whiskey photography. That was it. And one day I posted, it was like right when you could do a 15-second video, I think was the first thing. I just set up a camera really quickly on my phone and just posted something. And I think my account went from 400 people following me to like 8,000 in like 2 days. It just was like doo-doo-doo-doo. I'm like, oh, I guess people want to see this is more interesting than my landscape photography. And I never did it really to like get followers, because it doesn't, to me, it doesn't really matter if you have 1,000 followers or 100,000 followers or 1,000,000 followers. It's, are you putting something out that's authentic? That's the most important thing to me. I'm not gonna just post videos of me playing as fast as I can in 13/8, because I don't do that and I could care less about that. So I would rather post something playing really quietly in a groove that I really like. And if it's authentic, I think people somehow know it. I don't know how, but they can realize that what you're doing is actually what you care about. And that's why I think some people follow. You know, I don't have as many as most drummers, but I have enough people that are into what I'm doing that I can just kind of do my thing that I enjoy, and they are all into it. It's cool. I feel really lucky. There's nothing wrong with playing as fast as you can. I mean, some of my favorite drummers do that, and they're incredible. And they're like, you know, a lot of that stuff I listen to that are in like heavy bands, like Gojira or Meshuggah or something like that. I can't play that way. I don't think I ever could. It's just not how I hear music, but I have huge respect for that stuff. Instantly, people are like, oh, drums are loud. They don't have to be loud. It's whoever's driving the bus, that's your dynamic range. I think the drums sound amazing at a really quiet volume if you have the control to do that. It's a lot harder to play a drum set quietly and articulately than just bashing, because physics is much more difficult when you shrink it all down with, you know, what the drumstick is doing. When you really are hitting, they start to choke out. And that's a sound, that's like a choice. But I like to hear the tones and the overtones and all that kind of stuff. And that's a big reason why I worked with you guys to develop this stick, is for the touch. The whole reason the tip is shaped that way is initially for the ride cymbal. This stick is my dream stick. There was just nothing out there that did this. And all of my favorite drummers, I kept looking at pictures of what they were doing. And all of the sticks back then, all these jazz guys had these long, kind of pointy, almost like arrow sticks. But the sticks back then were really small because they weren't playing with amplification. It was all jazz piano trio stuff, so you didn't need to be hitting. Any jazz stick that would come out for the most part was like really thin. And I'm like, well, that's cool if all you're doing is ding, digga, ding, digga, ding. But if you've got to play with some, you know, volume, it doesn't work. So I was trying to think of something that you could kind of take that shape and beef it up a little bit and kind of play around with this tip. And what I liked about the jazz sticks back then, depending on how you attack the ride, you get different sounds. Like if you play with the pointy part of the tip on the ride, you get a much darker sound, a more woody sound. And as you get more parallel to it with this longer part that's a lot more wood contact, you get a much more bright kind of resonant sound. So it's one of the only sticks I've ever played where you can actually get two ride cymbal sounds. And also just the articulation with a tip like this, you can really feel like connected to the cymbal in a different way. I want a stick I can play with Charlie Hunter with, and a stick I can play Lion King with the same day and use the same stick. So if you flip these around and play them backwards, this is almost like a 5B. It's a heavy, you really hit that way. And if you flip them this way and play with the very tip, you can be really articulate and quiet. So it's a super versatile stick. At Lion King, I go through sticks more often because I'm hitting a lot harder. And so when I would pull out a new pair, I noticed that the FireGrain finish felt better in my hand at like fresh out of a box. I don't have time. If I need a new pair, I need to grab them and play. I just really liked how they felt at the show. And then I started playing them at home and using them with Charlie, and I was like, man, I really like how these feel. So we started talking about it, and then that's basically how this came to be. And it's the same exact stick. It's just this is finished in a different finish with the FireGrain treatment. I love them. They're both incredible. The signature and the stripes, obviously, and the logo are the same here. We use my logo down at the bottom to differentiate it a little bit, which is super cool. And then it's just obviously the FireGrain treatment through it. And it's all in black against this, which I thought looked really, really slick. I mean, it's beautiful. I love the way it looks. And also the print has got like a slight sheen to it, which looks really cool against the FireGrain. And they feel great in the hand too. I'm really, really, really happy with how they came out. This logo is actually really, really cool. If you look at staff paper on music and you fold it a certain way, that's what would make this. And it's also my initials, CM.
He's the multi-talented drummer for Broadway's The Lion King, as well as the McLean Band. Be sure to check out his award-winning instructional book, Concepts and Creativity, which is available now. Carter McLean is here. Welcome back, Carter.
I did a book in 2020 called Concepts and Creativity. I was trying to re-engineer how I think about playing, which is really hard to do when you're just playing music and trying to be analytical and break it down into like a system of how you play like someone. It's really hard to do. But I broke down when I was kind of just soloing or playing ideas what I was technically doing, even though I don't think about that when I'm playing. So I came up with like a little system that I ended up calling the kaleidoscope, where you're going through different stickings and pulling out different accents and different odd numbers, because most people when they're playing drums, it's all in 4/4 or 6/8. So you're still kind of in a square box, but like what about 5 and 7 and 9 and other accents that fall over the bar line? The book's point basically is to get your ears to a point where you can play anything you can hear, and then it gets your hands at the same time to a point where they can access all of that stuff. I have a website, cartermclean.com, where there's basically 10 lessons. Each lesson is an hour long. And I was really trying to just condense everything I know about drumming and music. So there's a course on how to play a Broadway show. There's a course on tuning. There's a course on mixing and engineering your drum sound. I go over some of the concepts out of the book. I go over playing with Charlie Hunter. I really tried to hit every angle for everybody. So there's enough to practice. There's enough to like show you how I get my sounds and tune and all that. So it's a pretty cohesive site, and it's like a one-time payment, and then you have that footage forever. I have enough music written that I could easily do 2 more records. I have enough piano tunes that I could do a solo piano record. I think it's really important to have like a well-rounded musical experience. I'm always just curious, like what would I write on a guitar if I played guitar? Because if you don't pick it up, you'll never know, and maybe you're a great guitar player. You just don't know it. You can just pick up the instrument, and if you hang out with it long enough and you listen and use your ears, you'll find what you sound like on that instrument. And I think that's a big thing that drummers should try to expand on, even if it's just piano or something that's kind of laid out very easily to see. To dig into some harmonic stuff, I think is really cool. I think being creative is the point. Committing to doing a full record or even just a full song is hard. But sticking with it's the hardest point. You know, it's like hardest part is to just follow it through to the end at least. And if you find out you don't like it, you just move on. I really feel lucky that I get to have this space in my house, which is super convenient. You can just walk downstairs and go to work, which is really great. Thanks so much for coming by the studio, and don't forget to check out the new sticks.